So listen, I was gonna do a whole story time. You know what I'm saying? Like, and put it all in parts of me. Working for, excuse me, Postmates slash Uber Eats, because you know that a couple years back Uber Eats bought out Postmates, and the reason why I was gonna do a story time with it because, I didn't start working for Postmates slash Uber Eats or just overall Uber Eats in Charlotte. I started out in Atlanta. You understand? And that's a story within itself. But to make the long story short, I went through a lot of BS, while working for Uber Eats down in Atlanta. In Atlanta is oversaturated. Most people don't actually do Uber Eats and like the gig apps such as Uber Eats, Uber, Lyft, and all of that stuff in Atlanta, because it's just oversaturated. I remember one time I was downtown in Atlanta. It was like not, I think it was across the street from what's the name of that place, the dine-in place. It's the Varsity. I think that's what it's called. I was at that BP gas station right across the street, which is not safe. You know what I'm saying? People get, a lot of stuff be happening around there. Even when I was hanging out there, waiting on a pickup, or rather, for food to come through, it was a lot of stuff going on. So, I remember one night, man, I was there, and it had to be like 15 of us just parked at the BP, just waiting for, I was doing Uber Eats, another person was doing Lyft, the other person was doing Postmates, another person was doing regular Uber, and we were just sitting there. You understand? And another thing too is when you get orders in downtown Atlanta, they're good orders, but you can't get to them. You can't get to them because there's really no parking. You understand? So you wind up parking somewhere you don't supposed to park, they'll tow your stuff. They'll tow it. You understand? So that's a story within a story. If y'all want me to do the story time and start from the very beginning when I started working for Postmates slash Uber Eats in Atlanta all the way up to leading to Charlotte, I'll do it. But if you don't, I'm gonna sum it up right now. You understand? So like, I got back to Charlotte because I used to live here. You know what I'm saying? And I stayed in Atlanta for about 2.5 years. I got back to Charlotte and I started doing Uber Eats. In the very beginning, it was popping. I ain't gonna even lie. You know what I'm saying? Especially like in the uptown area. I used to set up, because I don't even do it anymore. And the things that I'm about to say, for real, when this video comes out, more than likely they're gonna ban me from all these gig apps. Oh man, but anyway, excuse me. I used to set up at the intersection, in South End, at the intersection of South Boulevard and East Boulevard. Right at that intersection where there's a Shell gas station, where all of the bums be hanging out at, begging for, for change and stuff. And then in the inside of the gas station, they sell all of that BS soul food that'll kill you. And then that pizza spot right across the street from there, which is Fuel Pizza. I used to sit there right on the corner of that and just get orders back to back. So in the very beginning, the money was pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? I could not complain. It was way more better than Atlanta money. I really made the bulk of my rent, or rather my bill money, off of Uber Eats. It was just that good. You know what I'm saying? And then also on top of that, I'm a professional. So, I would iron my shirt and, edge my face up. I look very professional when I walked into these different restaurants. You understand? Restaurants like Sullivan, that steak joint. And then, the little places down there like Blaze Pizza. What's another? It's a Mexican restaurant over there too. There's just restaurants everywhere. You understand? Like in the uptown area. And, I used to get tips. I mean, I got pretty decent good tips. I remember one night I got like $100 tip. You understand? I've known other people to get way more than that. So the money was pretty decent. But the problem that I started figuring out is this. I would see my tips and they would come like whenever, pause. They would come like if I got tips that day, right? It would take 2-3 days or within 24 hours or 2 or 3 days for my tips to come back in. So it's crazy. Like there was really no structure on how you were going to get your money. I mean, you immediately got the money for your delivery, you know. But far as the tips, they came in later. So it's like, one day I calculated, I added everything up, and I was like, you know what? I think Uber Eats, I think they're skimming off the top. Straight up. So like, take for example, what I mean by skimming off the top, it's like, say for example, I get a tip for $8, right? And they'll just skim $2 off of it. But I would never know. There's really no paper trail. You understand? You have to go based on what they put on that app that you got tipped and how much you made. And then they started also doing this shit, which pissed me the fuck off. Excuse me for my, my language, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just reminiscing on back in the days when I used to work for them and I had to hustle. You know what I'm saying? They started adding like 3 deliveries into one, and they only paid you for one. But they claimed that they paid you for 3 different deliveries, but they didn't. Because you did 3 different deliveries, you had to pick all 3 different deliveries up. Some of these deliveries weren't in the same restaurant. They might have been like one across the street and one further up the street. And then after that, you would have to drop it off. And some of those deliveries that you dropped off was in the same community or in the same apartment complex, but then it might have been not. It might have not been. But you pay. I'm using my gas. I have to park. You know what I'm saying? My car. And I have to go through all of this stress. 3 deliveries may take me an hour to do it. So now I'm doing the math and I'm like, oh shit, I only got paid $5.33 that hour. Because it took me an hour to drop off 3 of those food. And then also on top of that, in the uptown area, South Boulevard, these big, massive apartment complexes, they're like, when you go inside of them, they're like maze. Like a puzzle, like amazing shit. So it's like you go up to the 2nd floor and the guy says, yo, I'm at apartment 222. And then you're walking up and you're like, okay, 210, 211, 212. And then when you get to 220, the numbers drop to 102. So you got to figure that out. And Uber Eats don't care whether you figure it out or not. They just want to make sure that the customer gets their food. What I'm trying to explain to you is this. The customer's getting fucked. That's without a shadow of a doubt. But the deliverers, the people that actually work for Uber Eats are getting fucked over the worst. And this is the reason why I had to walk away from it, because I started doing the math and I'm like, okay, I have to get oil changes. Like, yo, seriously, you're putting wear and tear on your car. They're not paying for that. Uber Eats don't care about that. They don't. Now, there were times where I filed on my taxes and I got that money back, but not all of it back. But you have to get a oil change like every 2 to 3 weeks. And that's unheard of. You understand? And at that time I was driving a Kia Sorento. It was like a 2013 or something like that. And they were like, yo, you need to get the full synthetic oil change. That costed about like $70. So what you have to do is you have to deduct your gas out of your profit. You have to deduct the oil change out of your profit. You have to deduct, what else? What there was something else too that you had to deduct from. You know what I'm saying? Time. So they'll tell you Uber Eats, Postmates, and all these places, you can make up to $15. They're not really lying. You can make up to $15 an hour, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make $15 an hour. And this is the reason why I had to walk away from it, man. Because it got to the point where it was just slavery, man. Sometimes I was just breaking even. That's real talk. And we're not even mentioning the customers, how rude they can be. Now, taking heed, Charlotte customers were a lot more better than Atlanta customers, or Metro, or should I say Metro Atlanta customers. You understand? Down there, it was straight racism. But up here in Charlotte, there was, I didn't encounter too much racism. What I did encounter was a lot of white privilege. Straight up. So, you're telling me, you know, I need my food. And I'm telling you, yo, I'm at the gate. I can't even get in. So now I gotta call you to get the code to punch in to drive into the gate. Then once I get into the gate, you're not telling me nothing. You're not telling me anything. You're just telling me that I need to figure it out. That's what you're basically indirectly telling me, that I have to figure out how to get to your apartment that's a maze, and I gotta get to it before your food gets cold. Nah, I had to go. I had to go, man. I had to go, and I'm not lying, man. It was a lot of white privilege, and also, you know, people were definitely rude. I wouldn't go as far as to say racist, but just definitely white privilege and rude. I remember one time, if you're familiar with Charlotte and Uptown. Now in Uptown, of course, you can't hardly park anywhere. I forgot about that one. You got to include, there are times where you have to park somewhere, and you come out. And next thing you know, you have to pay for parking. And you didn't even know it. You're like, yo, I just put my hazard lights on, you know, da-da-da-da. And they're like, no, we don't want to hear that. And, you know, I'm not a religious man, but I'm going to say it for the sake of the conversation. God forbid if you park somewhere where there's a towing zone. Next thing you know, they towing your car, and you're like, yo, man, I work for Uber. You know, I do the gig apps. And they don't want to hear none of that. They want their $150, $200, $300. I'm telling you, this is the shit that we had to deal with. I remember one time I was in Uptown, right across the street from the Harvey Gantt Center. It's a Duke Energy building that sits right on the corner. There's nowhere to park, right? I had picked up the order from Ray Leia or something like that. It's a place where they serve lo mein and noodles and all of that stuff. It's right down South Boulevard. You can't miss it. You know what I'm saying? On the right hand side, right before you get to your Fuel's Pizza. You understand? So, you know, I picked it up. You know, it was like, I think it was like, you know, three containers, and, you know, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, here I am. I got it in the car. That's another thing too. Food leaks on your seats. You know, you got to clean that. You got to constantly clean out your seats, because food gets leaked on the seats and all of that stuff. That's something else that Uber doesn't take care of. They don't care about that. Anyway, oh man, I got so much stuff. That's what I'm saying. I'm asking you all, please let me do this story time on Uber Eats. I need the support though. I can't be putting out these videos, you understand, and I'm doing 100 views or 200 views. No, I need 1,000 and better, because the story needs to be heard. Straight up. And I don't hear anyone really telling the story like I can tell it. And I guess because a lot of people haven't been through a lot of stuff like I have. See, I'm a hustler. So whatever I do, I put my 120,000% in. So I was the type of person that I get up, and I'm getting back to the point with the, you know, the whole Duke Energy building. Hold on for a second. I'm the type of person, when I get out there and do Postmates, I'm doing it from sun up to sundown. I'm putting in 8, 10, 12 hours. And then I'm going to get back up the next day and do it again. And do it again, and do it again, and do it again, do it again, do it again. No days off. You understand? So, I call a dude, I'm like, yo, listen. And I need to say, look, yo, listen, let me tell you exactly how I said it. I think it was a female, if I'm not mistaken. Matter of fact, it was. I said, hello, miss, how you doing? This is Langston from Postmates, you know. Well, same thing. Like I said, Uber Eats bought out Postmates. So whether I say Postmates or Uber Eats, it's the same thing. So I was like, I'm here for Postmates. You know, I have your food downstairs. This building, ma'am, I can't get into it. She says, well, okay, this is what you do. You put on your hazard lights, park in front of the building, put on your hazard lights, and come all the way to the 13th floor. So here I am shaking my head, because I'm saying to myself, yo, How in the world am I going to put on my hazard lights, go to the 13th floor, and when I come back, my car's not there? She's not going to pay for the tow. So that's what I said. I said, ma'am, I'm not trying to be funny. I do want to bring you your food. But I'm telling you, if I come upstairs, you know, and I put my hazard lights on, and I come downstairs, my car's not there, I know that you don't want to be held responsible for that. So she starts to get pissed off, like, well, I don't understand why you just can't come upstairs. I said, listen, this is what I'm going to do, ma'am. I'm going to come up to the front of the building. I'll leave my car. I'll put the hazard lights on. I'm going to come up to the building door. Can you at least come downstairs? And I'll give you your food right to you at the door. She said no. Click. I took her food to a couple of my boys, and they ate her food. And that's when the journey started to begin, when I started eating people's food. No lie. You wanna talk slick? You wanna make it difficult for me to bring you your food? There was times where people would call me and be like, yo, I don't even want the food anymore. So, you know, there were times that, yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I did eat your food. But there were other times where people were just like, oh, you don't want to come upstairs to the... Do you know this building in Uptown? It's called A View. That building goes up to like 55 floors. Right? Still wanted me to go all the way up the 55th floor. I said, yo, my man, I'm scared of heights. Now, this is crazy because I was born in New York. I've lived in New York. You know what I'm saying? I've been to the Statue of Liberty. I've been to the Empire State Building. As a kid, that's the field trips we used to take. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm going across bridges, all of that stuff. At the end of the day, I'm older. I don't play the goddamn 55th floor. I just don't play that. The reason why I don't play that is because, just no lie, just a couple of weeks ago, I'm saying back then when I was doing Postmates, a dude, the elevator broke and the guy just fell all the way from the 37th floor all the way down to the first. Now, taking heed, that was in New York. But still, I'm like, yo, man, I'm not doing it. I'm scared of heights. You know, the elevator, if it jams, then hey, that's my life. And I'm not trying to die off of no Postmates order. He's like, oh, man, I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? And then he puts his wife on the phone and she's trying to convince me. I said, listen, let me tell you something. I'm going to put your food on the floor if you don't come and get the shit. Straight up. Straight up, man. I just couldn't take it, man. You know, and the majority of people that work for your Postmates, your gig acts, and all that stuff are black. And it's ridiculous. And you get caught up into that world and you can't get out. And like, you know, during that 19 thing, you know that, I don't like mention it. You know what I'm saying? Everything slowed down and, you know, it was my exodus. Straight up. Man, I ain't looked back yet. You know, I did Instacart. I got the Grubhub app. I've never done that. That shit is just on my phone. I did Instacart one time. I didn't like it. I didn't like the customer. You know what I'm saying? But I did prefer the groceries over the food, because the groceries, you go in there, you pick up the items, you ring it up, and you leave. The only person that you got to deal with is the customer. That's it. But she was an asshole, and I was like, you know what? I ain't doing this shit anymore. And another thing too is Uber Eats they would give you orders, like they would force orders on you. Like it got to the point where, you know, you swipe to agree. Nah. They didn't care about that shit. They gave you the order regardless of whether you swiped to agree or not. And let's not talk about these rinky-dink Popeyes, Wendy's, you know, McDonald's orders and shit like that. People ordering one hamburger and a french fry and a drink. You drop it off, you get only $2.33. Because one thing about Uber Eats and all of these fucking places, they don't pay you to get to the merchant. In other words, they don't pay you to drive to McDonald's. You start getting paid the mileage from you from you leaving McDonald's and dropping it off at that guy's house. Man, I can go on for days for this, man. Y'all want to hear it? I'm telling you, these stories I have about Postmates and Uber Eats working for them, I'm telling you, they're off the hook. They're off the hook. It has a lot to do with racism, colorism, you know, classism, white privilege. you know, it's just everything, man. And I was one of the ones that, hey, it got to the point at the end, I was actually doing ghost orders. And what I mean by ghost orders, I would just drive to the restaurant and stop, act like I got the order and drive off, and then drive to the person's house, stop, and then swipe and say that I dropped it off and kept it moving. Yeah, I was getting real shiesty before I stopped working for Uber Eats. And the reason why is because Uber Eats was fucking me from the very beginning, from the very start. So if y'all want to hear those stories, let me know in the comment section. Other than that, man, I'm just going to discontinue this story, you know, from here. I want you to like, comment, subscribe, definitely share this video.